This is Windows Administrative Binaries. Now this section is kind of like the previous one where there's not actually any commands in the tables here. It's more informational, but I want to share with you the two main ways I use this table throughout Red Team operations. Now the first reason I'll use this table is to access the older style configuration menus. And let me show you what I mean here. If I open up the new Windows 10 networking menu, let's go to networking status here. Now, I don't think I'm the only one feeling this, but a lot of these newer menus, it takes way more clicks to configure anything. Some of the configuration options aren't even in there unless you click advanced like a million different times. It's super frustrating, super annoying. If you're like me and you've been working on Windows systems for a while now, the older style configuration menus are just easier to use. Now, let's say you wanted to change the IP address on this network interface card. There are a few different links to do that. You could click properties here, you could click view hardware and connection properties, network and connection sharing center, change adapter options. It's just confusing. There's so many different options, drives me crazy. Now, let's go back to the RTFM here. One of my favorites is ncpa.cpl. This will show you your network connections. This is like the legacy old school way to manipulate your network adapter. So if you memorize that or just jump to the RTFM, pull that table, let's go ahead, do our run command or search here. So let's do ncpa.cpl. Hit enter, and boom, we have our older style menu here. Again, if you've been working on Windows systems for a while, this is what you're used to. You can go to right click, properties, and then you can change a number of different network settings, IP address, DNS information. You can assign VLANs to the individual interface. Basically everything you need to do in this one tidy menu. So I've seen as Windows 10 has updated, it kind of hides these legacy menus more and more and more. A lot of times you can't even get to these legacy menus by clicking through those Windows 10 settings. So having a list of different binaries here is really helpful. Let's say you wanted to edit some registry information. You can just do a run on regedit.exe, just like you see here, and that'll pop up your registry editor and allow you to manipulate those different settings. So that's the first way I use this table. The second way is actually if you're on a target. So let's say you've exploited your way onto a target system and you list out all these processes on that machine. You can compare that list to the specific table and see what binaries that target user could have open. Maybe they have Task Manager open or they're browsing registry keys. That's going to tip you off that you need to either be more careful or even get off the machine. If that target user is an administrator and they're actively hunting for you, probably not the place you want to be. So let's go ahead and run through an example of that. If you watched our previous scenario video, you know that we set up our Red Team infrastructure and we got a callback from our first user in Cyber Inc. That's that fictitious company that we're attacking in the scenario. We're going to go ahead and run a process list on that machine and then see if the user has any of these binaries currently open. So let's go ahead, let's pull up our Kali machine here. You'll see that I'm running Sliver. Let's do our clear. We'll do our sessions. This is going to list out all the sessions that we currently have running. As you can see, we have 2 sessions here running on that target user machine. We're going to go ahead, highlight our first session here. Let's do our sessions, TAC-I. TAC-I is going to tell Sliver to go ahead and interact with that session. So we're going to hit enter. Now we're currently pointing at this specific session and we can run a number of tool sets and plugins against the specific computer that's calling us back. Again, looking at the username here, we can see that Phyllis Snyder actually opened our malware and that's why we have that callback on her machine. Now you can go ahead and type help. You can get a list of all the commands we can run against this target. Now looking through the different plugins that Sliver offers, we're going to go ahead and run the shell plugin. This is going to start an interactive shell. So let's type in shell, and it does say, hey, this is bad, are you an adult? A lot of Red Team operators do not run Windows binaries directly. A lot of times they have their own tool sets that actually mimic that same functionality, but allow them to run these commands in a much stealthier way. But there are times when you do need to interact with Windows systems directly. So we're going to type in yes, and we're going to start our remote shell here. So let's go ahead and run our process enumeration command. We're going to do task list here. And you're going to see there are a ton of processes running. I can scroll through this list and see what the user's up to and what processes are running. Now, the first thing that might catch your eye is this Fast Elm. This is the malware that we sent Phyllis and that she opened. So this process is actually us. But let's go ahead and scroll through here, see if we see any processes that stand out. I've looked through a lot of process lists in my day, so I can compare this pretty quick. So let's say we find this binary regedit.exe. If you looked at the table previously, this might stand out to you. So let's jump back to our RTFM. and you'll see regedit.exe is the registry editor. That means that the target user has regedit open and they're browsing registry keys. Now, we may decide, hey, this user probably is an administrator because they have that menu open. They're looking through registry keys. We don't want to be here. Let's go ahead, exit off. That way we don't tip them off that we're on their system. Or on the flip side, you might say, hey, this is an administrator. I want to be here. I want to try to steal their credential. I want to try to steal their token and see if I can pivot and move throughout the network. So those are the two main ways that you can utilize this table. A, to make your life easier so you don't have to use all those awful Windows 10 menus. And the second way here, you can actually enumerate target machines and see what the user's up to if they're conducting any type of administrative actions.